Howdy guys. So, well, it's hot today. Very hot, gonna be like 35 today. So again, up at like 4 in the morning, out riding since 5. Anyway, so I thought I'm always looking for new subjects to talk about and stuff like that. And two things that keep coming up all the time when I'm talking to people, because quite a few people watch my videos, especially in my club and friends clubs and stuff, and they come up to me and, you know, talk to me about, I guess because I open up about what I go through, then they come up and talk to me about their stuff, and there seems to be some kind of definite trends and stuff like that. So I thought I'll start by, I don't know, talking about very kind of specific emotions, I guess. And the first one that I howdy, how you doing? The first one that I guess I'll talk about that I'm a bit of an expert at because I suffer from it a lot is anxiety. And just about every person that I speak to who suffers from anxiety, and often anxiety and depression go together, you know, and then, you know, if it's really extreme, then people call it bipolar. Almost every single person, myself included, who has like lifelong chronic anxiety, I guess, you know, a lot of psychology, and I've read a lot about it. I've spoken to a lot of shrinks in my lifetime and stuff like that. And there's one of the difficult things about psychology is that it's like, so I was first on the trail, so I get cobwebs in my face like every 20 meters. So it's kind of considered a soft science because you can't like replicate all the conditions and stuff like that. So a lot of it's just mumbo jumbo, right? But almost every person who suffers from anxiety and depression a lot has a traumatic childhood. So one of the big debates is like, are we born this way, or is it like an environmental thing? And, you know, my childhood was really traumatic, and there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of instability and uncertainty and yelling and screaming and violence. And I mean, I never slept very well. I was always wondering what time of the night Dad was going to come home and start smashing stuff around the house, and Mum and Dad would be arguing, and, you know, like what it was going to be. You get the picture, right? Not good. So so I think the way that we deal with anxiety varies. And since my parents were really sporty, and about the only love and attention I got was when I won stuff, then it made sense that I found that one of the best ways to cure my anxiety was through movement, right? Because you're using up all that excess energy, and it makes you get into a calm state. That's probably why I enjoy doing these videos when I'm out running and biking and stuff, because when my body's moving a lot and consistently, then my mind is very calm, and then I have a chance to kind of mull over these ideas. And midway through my ride, when I'm probably at my calmest, then I guess I'm able to formulate ideas a little bit better and stuff like that. So it's been a lifelong thing, you know, and also being doubted by your parents is a big thing, you know, like how your parents think about what you're going through. And it's really common that parents don't blame themselves, don't even look at themselves. I mean, my mum took me to a shrink when I was like 15. You know, my coach had told me to start preparing for the Olympics and stuff, so I didn't want to go to school. I just wanted to train full time and stuff like this. And Mum took me to a shrink to try and convince me that I was crazy. But after talking to the shrink's actually like, you're a very level-headed young man, you've got a lot of ambition, you've got a plan, but like from what you're telling me about your home life, I need to speak to your mother. Mum promptly grabbed me and ran out of the office, and she never spoke to anybody again, or at all. So a lot comes from childhood, and trying to deal with that is very difficult, because a lot of the time the people involved, like your parents, aren't up for talking about it. You know, it's a closed book, and it's kind of up to you to have to deal with whatever it is that you're going through. And so some people will turn to food, for example, because they'll get a big blood sugar rise and then a big crash when the insulin comes, and that's a very calm state. So sometimes you can't really judge by looking at somebody whether they're anxious or depressed and stuff like that, because the way that they use that emotion, you know, varies, you know. And so some people will overeat and won't exercise, and then some people will exercise, you know, like myself, and then with that exercise, if it's channeled, then you become successful in sport, and then now you've got like this little cycle that you're in, that, you know, that you're not really going to deal with the source of the anxiety, because using it is bringing about benefits to your life, and you're getting accolades for it, you get pats on the back, which reconfirms it and stuff like that. So, I mean, I've had some horrible periods of anxiety. You know, I had panic attacks of, oh, you're back again.
Yeah, keep right this one. I know what's gone wrong with the whole. Something snapped in there.
Yeah, that's your free will that's done.
Is it?
Yeah, no, you'll be pushing that out now. Yeah.
Good old 99 bike. You bike service there?
Yeah, if you go for cheap brands, then they come with cheap components, and
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
never happened to me in like 16 years.
yeah, especially over COVID now, they're just throwing bikes together. So
Oh
yeah, so you probably need a new freewheel. The little ratchets that
Yeah.
catch in the freewheel,
Yeah.
you've driven down and like
Crunch.
shredded them. So yeah, if you're going to get a new free hub or something, like DT Swiss are really good. Go for one of the good brands.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, you won't have to replace the whole bike,
No,
just
no.
some parts like that.
I've had tricks and stuff, and the back wheel goes, and it gets buckled and blows both. Like,
Right.
supposed to go ping ping, and but that's only 6 months old.
Yep. Well, it'll be under warranty. Take it straight back to the shop.
You reckon?
Yeah, oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, they should last forever.
Well, they won't last forever, but you'd expect to get more than 6 months. So if you get dramas with it,
Yeah.
just go to ACCC
Oh,
or QCAT or something like that.
yeah, you reckon? Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, the bike shop will try and tell you otherwise, especially in 99.
Yeah, I went there to get a new back thing. I went to one of the Shimano 12 speed. I bought the Shimano chain. They said it's a SRAM hub. SRAM has put a SRAM product on there. So it's
Yeah.
a SRAM GX
Yeah.
thing. This thing, yeah. Then I put a Shimano chain on it. I said, can you do that? Can you put a Shimano
You can, yeah, you can mix and match some parts. Yeah.
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 I'll just go to the bike shop and say, probably better for one whole new wheel, isn't it? Not
Yeah. Possibly, if you go through back wheels, maybe get something stronger for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. I'll link to it.
All good.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
man.
Have a good day. Have a good Christmas.
That's all good, thanks. So where was I? So for example, so I had a psychologist to help me in preparation for world championships and stuff like that. And so I had a couple of academies, you know. I had my main academy, and then a couple of days a week I teach out at a smaller gym in a scout hall. Anyway, so once I got my black belt, I started getting approached by various independent academies around the place and my own students to have like an affiliate program and stuff like that. And again, I didn't have any sort of background in business or anything like that. I was just really, really organised with my academy and the way that I structured it, and people kind of liked that, and they liked the fact that I wasn't like in the Peter Devine Gracie camp, and I wasn't in the Machado John Will camp, because they were kind of at war, and so I was like a kind of a safe third option, I guess. And I saw both John Will and Peter Devine kind of opening up affiliate academies and stuff like that, so I just thought, okay, well, I'll do that too. And then really quickly I got up to like 8 or 9 academies really quickly, and it was really overwhelming because again, you don't know what you don't know, and you think it's going to be okay. Yeah, okay, like it's an academy, these guys will look after themselves, and I'll go over there occasionally, and it'll be fine. But no, it turns into an absolute nightmare, and it's almost always to do with the husband and wife who typically are running the academies. Almost every single academy was run by a husband and wife, and they would be arguing and bickering about what was going on between them, division of roles. Typically the guy would be doing the teaching, and typically the wife would be doing the admin, and she's thinking he's out there just having a wonderful time, and doesn't understand how hard it is to be the coach. And then he's probably undervaluing her, going, well, it's great, she just sits on her butt and pushes buttons all day, and they really don't understand each other's roles and how difficult they both are. And so I would spend a lot of my time trying to put out these fires between couples all the time, and it just turned into an absolute nightmare. And so eventually I went and had a word to Peter DeBean, because he shafted me a bit in the early days when he first set up his affiliate program, and I never really understood how it happened. And so once I had all these dramas with my own affiliate program, then I could see things like how difficult it was to run it. And I went back to him and I said, hey, look, it's really difficult. And I forgive you for what you did to me, because you probably didn't know what you were doing either, And so anyway, I ended up with all these academies, but with no business experience. And I don't like juggling things. I like to kind of focus on one thing and do it really well. And so here I am juggling 8 different things or 9 different gyms, and trying to compete and train myself and run my own academy full time, and try and stay fit and do all the other things. And it was just crazy, and I got incredibly anxious. I wasn't sleeping very well. I started drinking a lot and stuff like that. And so I went to see my sports psychologist about it, and he referred me to a friend of his who was a psychiatrist, so they can administer medicine and stuff like that. And all that they really needed to do, if they were being 100% truthful, is to just go, you need a business manager. You're over your head, you don't have the qualifications and experience to be able to run such a large business with so many moving parts. You're a great instructor and you like people and you're good at your martial art, but this is outside of your skill set. We think that you should go hire a business manager. Well, that would be the right thing to say, yeah, because that was really the problem. My anxiety was coming from somewhere else. I was incredibly insecure. I didn't, I didn't know what I was doing, right? And I didn't have the skills to be able to manage the whole thing. And even then, when I realized a long time later that I needed to hire a business manager, then I didn't have the skills and knowledge to be able to know what sort of business manager to hire, right? I was young and fit, and I was looking for somebody who was young and fit who would represent my company, but mostly that's not what business managers look like. They're kind of overweight and they don't mind donuts and they sit on their ass in a chair and they don't spend 8 hours a day training, for the most part. So I was judging people again. I would have these overweight guys come into my gym and I'd be like, I can't hire you as my business manager because you're not going to be a good representative of it. And again, that was just my inexperience. But instead of all that happening, that did happen, but early on they just go, oh, you're hyper anxious, you need this medication, try this. And then that was 5 years of my life just wasted as they experimented with all these different psychological drugs that drove me near suicide and sent me absolutely to the moon and all over the place. And until I just dumped all of that stuff, because it got really crazy. It's not a good place to be, and I realized that I was just using these shrinks as a crutch, and they were it's kind of like personal trainers. When I was working as a personal trainer, my goal, I thought, was to educate my clients and get them away from me as soon as possible, whereas most other personal trainers were trying to almost make them addicted to them so they could retain them as clients, whereas I saw that as a failing of myself as a personal trainer. I don't want the same clients for years and years and years. In 6 months, they should know about their body and understand how to train it, and occasionally come and see me for some motivational kick in the ass stuff. But it didn't happen like that, and so the psychologist saw the opportunity to send me to a psychiatrist, and then the psychiatrist saw how stressed I was and saw the opportunity to be able to, provide a chemical solution, but that wasn't going to solve like what was going on in my life and what was creating the stress in the first place. But that's their job. Like, they make money by prescribing medicines, the same as most GPs. You won't go into a GP's office without leaving with a script, right? Unless you're me, and I walk in, I tell them exactly what I want, and if they don't give it to me, I just leave and go somewhere else. So, learning to get to the source of your anxiety, and then finding a positive outlet to be able to use it, and trying to find a way for you to be able to think your way through it. Because when you are anxious, and I was having panic attacks and passing out from panic attacks and stuff, it was really bad. But then being able to just drop a pill and all that worry goes away is a very, very seductive thing, and that's how it works. Is that, you're at a crux where things couldn't get that much worse, and there's a breakthrough that's going to happen if you wait. But it's a horrible situation that you're in, and you think you're going to die, because like you're passing out and stuff. It's not good, and you have horrible panic attacks. And rather than actually get to the bottom of it and find a healthy solution to it, the easiest thing is to just swallow a pill, and then all you have some Xanax, and then all your problems just go away, and you're like, wow, this is great. But you're not able to think your way through the problem, because now you don't have the problem, and you have the solution in a pill. And as soon as you stop taking that, then you start feeling that stuff again, and then that's terrifying. So you either go back to the pill, or like I did, I dumped them, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, use up this excess energy and ride or run or whatever it is, and then I would go train, and then I would go home and write in my diary, and then I could, once I was nice and calm and I'd got rid of my excess energy, then I can formulate a plan and write it down in my diary about how I'm feeling. And by writing in my diary, I'm thinking about my emotions, and I'm writing them down, and I'm looking at them, and then you're kind of rereading them as you write them. So you're seeing them a number of times, and it gives you a chance to kind of process. And you can also go back and reread your thoughts. It's very interesting. Trying to hold them inside is very difficult, and I suggest to everybody that you have a diary, and you can just let loose in your diary. If you have some crazy thoughts, write them down, and maybe by writing them down, you're like, actually, that sounds like a little bit nuts. Like, maybe I need to dial things down a bit, because it's easy when you're in a very anxious state to, to just blab, right? All these crazy ideas that you have, and they could just be momentary, but because you've said them to a person or people, then they're out there forever, kind of thing, and people might judge you because of it. So if you're having crazy thoughts, like, write them all down in your diary, like, get it all out. If I go back to my diary from months and months ago, when I was having some stress, then I would be like, whoa, like, crazy talk, but by getting it out, then it just stays there. It stays in my diary, and I can always go back and reflect on it. And when people go, oh no, you've got a wonderful life, you don't seem to have any stress, I'm like, hey, come with me and come and read what I was like, the sort of thoughts that I was having. But that's momentary. It's not all the time. You're not going to be crazy anxious all the time. You're not going to be crazy depressed all the time. They're just momentary, and for the most part, they're moments of learning, that if you stick with it, and I'm obviously not a fan of pharmaceuticals after, spending, nearly 10 years of my life taking different things prescribed by doctors and shrinks and stuff like that, and And then when I bust my back, the public health system and the GPs and all the shrinks in the world were more than happy to fill me full of 16 different pills and drive me to the point of suicide again, until again I got to like breaking point, got the whole lot. I had like a whole bag full of all the different medications I was on, threw the whole lot in the rubbish, and they said I was going to kill myself. They said that if I went cold turkey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. You know what happened? In 3 months, I won a 100k mountain bike race. That's what happened. And then I set up my own business online and another business online, and then I became a professional mountain bike coach, and then I ended up becoming a professional trail builder. Again, as a trail builder, it was like 8 hours a day non-stop exercise. Awesome for me because it keeps me calm. It uses up all my anxiety and all my excess energy and allows me to think properly. So when it comes to anxiety, I think the important thing is to try and look back at where it came from, and often it's stuff that's happened to you, but also you have to take responsibility for, are you exacerbating it? Yeah, are you drowning yourself in alcohol and stuff like that? Because alcohol, in the short term helps cure anxiety. First of all, you got to make sure that your body's okay. Like go and see your doctor and make sure that you don't have. One of my students had a medical condition he didn't know about, and he suddenly just started craving alcohol out of nowhere. And it turns out that he had, I think it was a thyroid problem or something like that, and he was just massively anxious out of nowhere. And it was a legit, medical condition that had happened to a couple of other members of his family that he found out about. So make sure that you're physically okay. But other than that, you've got to do the work of figuring out where it came from. And for me, it came from my parents. So I went back and tried to speak to my mum about it. She just shut the door and wasn't interested in any sort of conversation at all. So that just put all the pressure on me to have to deal with it. And so most of you are aware, if you watch my videos, of what it was like, how I was trying to formulate my relationship or work it out before Mum's passing months ago. And that was really difficult, but I was really glad that I got to the point where I could forgive her, and it allowed me to kind of move on with my life, and I think has improved my relationship with my wife and with people in general. Because the resentment that you hold towards your parents, if you don't sort it out before they pass, then you can hold on to that for the rest of your life, and I certainly didn't want that. I wanted to be able to be at peace and to be able to go to Mum's grave and to mourn her and miss her and not resent her. And I got to that place, and I was very proud of myself for having made that progress, because it wasn't easy. So my suggestion with anxiety is to make sure that you're not making it worse by drinking a lot of alcohol or any alcohol at all. Less is better. And to look at positive ways to deal with your anxiety, and also get your thoughts out onto paper. I really recommend that. So to help organize those thoughts, again, I learned a lot about psychology by learning how to train dogs, and one of the things that you want to do with a dog is you don't want to teach them self-discipline if they've got a lot of energy. So you always want to go out for like a half-hour walk beforehand to get them into a nice, calm, relaxed state before you start trying to get them to do some self-discipline stuff or teach them, things like that, because they're not in a state where they can learn. And I see the same thing with most schools, is that, like typically boys who have high energy, they throw them into the classroom, they sit down, they haven't used up a lot of energy, they can't pay attention, and then once they play sport, then they're calm, then they can come back to the classroom. So I think having like phys ed as a first period almost every day, get all the exercise done, get the kids into a calm state, and then put them through their academic stuff. And then if you see that works, but then they misbehave again in the afternoon, well, guess what? I'd introduce another 40-minute period of exercise in the afternoon, and have this like double peak format where the kids use up their energy, then they come to class, then they're calm, can pay attention, they'll have lunch, they'll get energy again, go and exercise if you have to get calm to be able to study again, because it was a huge problem for me at school. Even though I was exercising a lot, trying to sit down and study was just about impossible. My body just wanted to go. I couldn't sit down, and it's about the only thing that's ever held me back from going and becoming a proper psychologist, is that I literally can't sit down and study long enough. Like, I have to be up. It's just, you know, like whether I have ADHD or whatever, whether it's just constant anxiety, I don't really want to put it in a box. It's just the way that I am. But I find the best thing for me is to exercise first thing in the morning, and then I can focus on everything else. And then if I feel waves of hyperactivity coming, then again I'll go and exercise to get into a calm state. Not to like completely dismiss the reason for the energy, but I'll go out and exercise. For me, to go out and ride for a couple of hours is no big deal. And it puts me in a nice calm state. I can formulate my thoughts a lot better. I can make better decisions because I'm in a calm state. So certainly when you're in an anxious state, it's not a great time to be making, you know, big decisions. So learning to find a positive way to get calm, whether it's meditation. I mean, again, my form of meditation is moving meditation. It's when I think best. If I try and sit down and actually meditate, like my monkey mind is going a million miles an hour, and there's really no chance of getting control of it. So, and I've tried. I've spent my life trying to do that sort of stuff. It's been recommended to me. But again, for me, exercise, but what I would consider moderate exercise, most people would probably consider excessive exercise. But if you're used to training, you know, 8 hours a day, then training for like two hours a day is like no big deal. Yeah, so that's what I would suggest, is to try not to use pharmaceuticals like Xanax and stuff like that. It's okay as a short-term bridge. If you're a woman who's in a really serious DV situation and now your kids have been uprooted and now you're in a halfway house and it's just chaos and you can't sleep, and well, maybe, you know, for a month or two or something like that, to help you sleep, because it's so important. Sleep is super important, because without it, your brain is not working properly, and you're not going to be making good decisions. You're not going to be in a good headspace. I know, because like last night, you know, I worked till 8:30, 9 o'clock. I get home, it's super hot. I have to wind down. I get to bed at like 10. I know that I have to get up early and exercise. It's going to be crazy hot today, and I need to be at my best because I've got lots of teaching to do. So you just have to figure out a good, healthy routine that works for you. So that's what I would suggest if you're anxious. Yeah. Get into exercise early in the day. Walking dogs first thing in the morning sets them up for a nice calm day without their owners. Without that, they get all anxious and they tear up the house, and humans are kind of the same. So I would suggest exercise first thing in the morning, and make sure your diet's good. Make sure your diet's not high in caffeine, or that you're having a lot of excess carbohydrates and stuff that are like making you go up and down all day. I have a high carbohydrate diet, but I'm training a lot. You know, I use up all my energy, and in fact I have to eat to be able to train. So look at that. Make sure the people around you are really positive and themselves. Make sure that you've got good positive friends that are healthy and stuff like that. The people that you spend the most amount of time with are really going to affect the decisions that you make and the lifestyle that you have, and how you eat, how you sleep, the sort of thoughts that you have. When you're around positive people who are trying to build businesses and do great things and look after other people and stuff like that, then you know, you get caught up in that, and the positivity is really good. So that's how I'd suggest dealing with your anxiety, is exercise, but not to excess. And I would suggest exercise first thing in the morning, because it helps calm your body and clear your head for the rest of the day. If you need to, do a little bit in the evening as well. Maybe go for a walk so it's not stimulating you and affecting your sleep too much. Watch your diet, make sure that you're eating well, make sure that you're sleeping well, and make sure that you surround yourself with good people. And put your thoughts down on paper, yeah? And if you're scared that other people are going to read them, then maybe write them down and then throw them out or something. But definitely, I would suggest putting your thoughts down on paper. Anyway, that's what I do with all my anxiety and hyperactivity. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll do my best.